To flip or not to flip?
That is the question.
To flip or not to flip, we're going to take different subject properties and we're going to decide what we should or should not do to make a decision whether that's going to be a good investment for us to make a few dollars. Don, what are you thinking? Do you have any input on that?
Yeah, just a little more than that. As a matter of fact, that's, I think, the main aim of our show is to teach everybody, if you will, but certainly just to show them how we go about flipping houses. All we're concerned about, though, is the purchase of the house we want to flip. If that's purchased right, then everything else falls into place. If it's not purchased right, meaning you paid too much for it, then you're in big trouble. So what we want to try to do is to enable you to walk into a house that you want to consider buying for flip purposes, and you being confident enough to go from room to room, figure out what it needs, how much the cost might be, add that to the price of the house, and see how close that comes to market price. If you're under market price, you're in good shape. If you're over market price, don't buy the house.
So basically, I think what he just said is we're going to make our money on the purchase. So we have to make sure that when we put it under contract, that the numbers make sense right from the get-go. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. The way you just put it, we are figuring that the whole ball of wax is in the purchase of the property. Everything else, including the rehab, you've already figured out how much it costs, who can do it if you don't do it yourself, that sort of thing. And then, of course, the selling of it.
But now, a guy like you that's looking at this, you know, obviously we both do this and we do it all the time. Do you have a specific number you want out of a house as far as a return number? Or are you just going to say, okay, I want to walk in here and I'll be happy walking away with $5,000 or $10,000, or do I want $50,000? What is your goal and how do you come to that number?
Well, like many people, I started out with my wife watching some of the various shows about flipping houses on TV. And what I discovered real quickly was that although it was fun and entertaining, for me in Florida watching a show in California, I'm not going to learn a whole lot about what to expect, about how much to make. There's such a difference in the housing prices. What I do want to do is get this down to our own area and what we want to make or you want to make in whatever area you happen to be in. Most areas are like ours. California is kind of alone, but you get into New York and the Northeast, and that's still a problem. So it's where you are. And for me, where I'm at here in Florida, I want to make between $15,000 and $25,000 per house.
Okay. So basically, if you don't already know this, and I'm sure that most people have done a lot of research because you wouldn't be watching a show like this otherwise, but real estate is a very local market. So every market is different. This is just general real estate information, as you guys all know. So you have to make sure that if you have a set number that you want to make a 14% return or a 12% return, in our area of Florida, you might not get that. It's very simple. If you have California, you might very well get it. If you go to Nashville, Tennessee, I love Nashville, Tennessee. I just fell in love with that place. If you go out there, you might get it. I don't know. I haven't done houses out there, but we might drive out there and take a look.
Good idea.
Yeah, we can go to some country bars, do a little bit of dancing. You should see this guy dance. So, but yeah, it's a local market. So you got to make sure where you're at, what you're doing, how you want to do it, and what you're expecting to put in your pocket. If you have a expectation that's not realistic, you're going to be stuck and you're going to be very, very disappointed. I can tell you I've had many people get in the business that want to do this, and they will make a $12,000 profit, and they are ready to quit tomorrow because they aren't happy. They want to make $30,000 or $40,000. You know, I've never lost on a house. Worst case scenario, you sell it for what you have into it. But have real expectations for the area that you're at. You're never going to get every house, so don't get emotional. You have to decide what you're going to do as far as the rehab goes. How deep are you going to get into it? You have to remember, in our area, where we're at, specific, there's not a lot of room to put in or $90,000 on a flip property. So what does that mean? Do you have to cut corners? No, you don't have to cut corners. You have to do things right at all times. You don't want to ever do something where it's halfway done or you're hiding something. What you want to make sure that you do is the best job you can for the least amount of money. Okay, so here's probably the most interesting thing you have to get when doing what we're doing. You have to have a guy like me that just kind of just goes 100 miles an hour. And then you have to have Donn, the analytical animal, who looks at every single penny, every single day of the week. It can be the world's worst thing to do. However, he keeps the numbers straight. Am I right or am I wrong?
That's absolutely right.
So, what do you have to say?
I don't know any other way to do it. Money's money. If I'm my own business, then I'm my own money, and I'm responsible for it. But I'm also responsible to any other people that I work with. So I don't want to mess anything up for them either. So the only way to do this and to keep track is to know at all times, well, let's put it this way. I can, any day of the year, I can see what I'm ahead. And that's all really what I want to know. Am I ahead? Am I behind or whatever? And it tells me, of course, how much I'm ahead, and you can judge from that. But I do know every expense is written down and added to the original purchase price of the house. And again, that eventually when we're through rehabbing the house and there are no more rehab costs, then we know exactly what the cost is. And
so real fast, to interrupt that. So you must have a really expensive platform or something that you're using to keep track of all the numbers, right? What are you using to keep track of everything?
It's a system I developed.
What's it called?
It's called Donn's Idiot Service, and I don't know why I ever did it now, because I never thought it would get to this level. But I started out with the first house, just putting all the figures down. When I got the closing statement, I put down how much the house cost. When I put down a wire fee, because I had to wire money in.
Oh, he hates spending money on wires, folks. He is cheap. He squeaks when he walks.
$30. That's a great dinner somewhere. So, and anyway, any other expense, whether it be materials, Home Depot, labor, what have you, and then at the end, I add it all up and add it to the original cost of the house. And let's say with a $150,000 house, I have $50,000 expenses. Therefore, I have a $200,000 into this house, all in. That means I can afford, with commissions, and we're a little ahead now, but with commissions and closing costs, to sell it for about 7% off of whatever the cost is to get it to $200,000 to break even, which I'm going to guess is $212,000, $13,000, $14,000 to break even, and any more than that is profit.
Okay, so he kind of jumped ahead a little bit.
I did. I'm
That's
sorry
okay.
about that.
We'll go back to all that. So there's all kinds of little things we can do with numbers, but so long and short of it, when you keep track of everything, he didn't say this exactly. However, he just uses basically a regular Excel spreadsheet. He doesn't use anything fancy. When I call him and I say, what's into this house on 123 Coral Reef Street, I made that address up just so you know. He'll say, hold on just a second, and he'll email me just a quick email. He just copies and pastes it, and bam, I know he's got $162,000 into the house. Why is that important? Because if we're doing a deal and we get an offer on a property, we need to know where we're at so we can do real numbers. I have to be able to do real numbers with him and say, this is what you're going to make, and he has to make a decision. A lot of buyers in our area currently, they want to have an answer as fast as possible. What is the best part about working with somebody that's a local investor or just a local person that is here and responds fast is you get an answer fast. Buyers like to, it's an emotional thing for a buyer. They want to know that they can go home tonight and they can celebrate and go out to dinner and they can talk about that house that they just put under contract. What better way to end your evening with your kids and your wife and say, hey, that house over there, we put it under contract. All right, now we just got to go into inspections. Is that not cool? That's some pretty cool stuff. Donn was actually referred to me by another realtor here in town. And when he was referred to me, he was looking to buy a house for himself, and we just had a conversation, and it just took it to a whole different level, and we ended up looking at many houses, and he actually was under contract with another property with another realtor as an investment property to flip it, and the numbers were so bad that I told him, I said, you better get out of that deal. And I think he knows it now that I was right. At the time, he probably didn't realize.
If I hadn't thought that you were right, I wouldn't have gotten out of the deal. I pulled the plug on it as soon as I got back talking.
So, but long and short of it, it's something that it just kind of happened. It was never really a plan to do this, but the cool part about it is it happened. We've done lots and lots of houses, and when you do this, it's fun. If you're not having fun, you're never going to do well at it. It can be stressful. You know, we've had deals where it's come down pretty close where, you know, for some reason something goes wrong. There might be a roof that was bad that we had no idea, or a septic tank and drain field has surprised us in the past, which was fine, and something happened. Never have been negative, and always make money. But the realization of this is things do happen, and we're not playing with margins that you're going to make $100,000. So if you screw up, it could cost you your profits for that deal. So you got to really try to be careful. You got to be analytical to a point. He's beyond the point. I would say that you're pretty much he's a freak of nature. And I'm going to say that. I want that to be on tape, by the way. He's a freak of nature with being analytical. But the thing with it is, it works. And as long as it works, that's the important part. As we move forward with this whole show, we would like to educate you as the consumer that is going to be buying houses and hopefully flipping houses and be able to do this and have fun at it like we are, on what to do and what not to do. There's a lot of things. There's a million things. What's the most expensive part of a house? The kitchen, right? Well, the kitchen costs a heck of a lot of money, right? So, what are your thoughts on that? Should they go in and rip a kitchen out? Should they go in and paint cabinets? Should they go in and do sponge paint on the cabinets? What do you do?
Well, again, Jason said this early on, and that was you do the best you can for the least amount of money. And what I interpret that to mean is do the best by neighborhood generally accepted standards. So if you're not in an area of two-story mansions, don't decorate the house like it is one. Otherwise, you're going to lose money. You have to realize what neighborhood you're in, what the relative costs of things are there, and what you're going to spend to turn this house into a marketable item that's going to make you that $15,000 or $20,000 that you want to make each time.
The beauty about where we're located currently and where we do our stuff is the houses run anywhere from like $180,000 for a decent, well-sized home up to about a $300,000 range. So we try to hit that sweet spot, and the sweet spot for us is under $200,000 listing a house. If we go up above 200, it might be 215, 210. We do stuff at 250, 260, 300, 350. The sweet spot for our area is under 300, but definitely under $200,000.
What's interesting about that is that that's a change, because I noticed for the last, when I started out 5 years ago, that was a sweet spot. But the economy got so good, and houses went crazy here, and they just went right back up in value, so that above 200,000 went pretty quickly. However, now there seems to be some calming of the market, or it seems to be reaching smoothness or leveling off or whatever, and that number has come now down under, we think, under 200 as a sweet spot. The larger ones will still sell. It just takes longer to sell them than we would like, right?
Yeah, the market is still, it's a wonderful market. There's lots of bad news out there. People are going to say the market's crashing and doing this. The market's not crashing. The market is still probably going to go up 5%, I'm going to guess, this year. Who knows? It could go up to 6%. It might be at 4%. The idea is there was such chaos before. It was not a normal market. Now we're more of a normal market. Things are happening. They take a little bit longer. If you're selling your house in 90 days instead of in 15 days, big deal. You don't have to have a crazy market to be able to sustain and make things work properly.
But the point of what we were just saying is that if you're not aware that there were those changes in your market, or if you can be a little bit behind, but if you're not right up with it, eventually it will bite you, because you'll be surprised at which, in this case, the market went up. Now it seems to be trending a little down. Next month or two, it may go back up again. The point is, when you're selling the house and you want to get the most money for it, you have to know what people are willing to pay, and go after it and stand your ground for a little while even. But again, I think we digress.
Well, but the other important thing is here is when you're buying the house, that's when you make your money. So if you buy the house for too much, you're going to have a problem. So you got to make sure you buy. There's been many a times that I can tell you that we have had houses that we really wanted to pick up that we let go because it was not going to be the right price when we buy it. And there's been houses, I'm not going to lie to you guys, there has been houses that we thought for sure we were going to do very well on that we didn't do well on. You know, it's business. It's just the way that it goes.
But the opposite happened too.
The opposite happens as well.
I'll let the cat out of the bag here a little bit, because I remember these figures. But when Jason said we never lost money on a house, that's true. The lowest we ever made was $2,000. And that's because Jason, we bought this house, and 2 weeks later, Jason just didn't like it. And he said, let's just sell this thing and move on. He says, I got a bad feeling about it. And we sold it for a $2,000 profit in about a week. That wasn't that hard to do, because we were really under what the market value was. But then I've gotten one other one that I made $36,000 on. And that was a surprise, because I we underestimated how much work needed to be done. Maybe we thought it needed a roof and it didn't. I don't actually remember now. But when we're aiming for 15 to 25, how do we come out with 36? Well, that's just one of the lucky perks that happens every once in a while. And so does the 2,000, and you have to be ready for either.
As they say, things happen. That's it, right? I will tell you, when he makes $36,000 on a house, or even $30,000, or even $25,000, he has to buy me an expensive dinner. And I'm going to tell you guys, make sure that you get the free dinner, because he will cheap out and take me to Arby's. He'll take me to Subway. We want good dinners. I make him take me to the top-notch places in town, and then I'm good to go till the next one.
And that's because you pay at the Arby's and the McDonald's that we go to.
That's why we go. That's why, because that's what I treat. I treat at the cheap places. He treats at the expensive places. No better deal than that.
But when you learn how to do this, you won't buy most houses. As a matter of fact, it may go as high as 7, 8, 9 out of 10 houses that you look at, you may pass on. Therefore, that's what we might do. But we'll tell you and give you our best shot as to whether or not the houses we look at are a good purchase or a bad purchase. So what we're going to do and endeavor to do in each show is to teach you how to be good buyers of flip properties. What comes after the purchase, it's the same as you've seen on many other shows, but the most important thing and where you make your money is buying the house right. And that's what we're going to teach you how to do. And the way we're going to do that is to ask you to participate along with us and figure out, as we go along, how much the items cost, so that at the end you can total everything up and see how close you came to our estimates. And by the time you watch a few and you get really good at this, you ought to be able to go out and do one on your own. So that's it, and good luck.
Checking out for now, Jason and Donn, to flip or not to flip?
That is the question. I like that.